Yeah, sure. He's a different club, maybe higher standards, bigger expectation. But that's why he's there, because Guardiola and City recognised him as someone that can play at that level. And now the company he's in amongst is superior to what it was at Villa, with all due respect to Villa. But that's why he's there, because they think he's at that level. So now it's up to you, Jack, to show us that their investment in you was right. And you are a player of this level.
I think the key is what is his capability? What is he reaching it? Is he maximising his potential?
And is he?
No. He could score and make more goals than he does because he has the ability to do so. What he's having to change a little bit is the freedom he played with at Villa. When he played at Villa, he went on a pitch and played how Jack Grealish wants to play. There wasn't really a plan. Play over there in that role, but affect the game. Make a difference. Now, there was more space for him playing at Villa for obvious reasons, because when you play for City, you have teams that drop people off and put men behind the ball. At City, he's part of a team. He's part of a philosophy that he has to adhere to. He has to contribute to the team in the way Pep wants him to, or he won't play. He can't play in the same way, although, of course, you still want to see that creativity and that skill and that flair. Could he have done a bit more? Probably yes. Do I think there's more to come? Yeah. But what he is now, he's part of a squad at Manchester City that's trying to win every trophy they're in. So he's not going to play every game. None of them do.
No.
None of them do.
But Pep says we didn't sign him for the incredible goals or assists. It was another reason. Well, and when he plays, he does it. It's about his contribution without the ball and what it can produce for the other ones and the many, many things that he's able to do.
His numbers could be higher for his ability. But what Pep's talking about, I call him an occupier. He's got this wonderful ability when he's got the ball of bringing players towards him. He occupies people because you don't want to leave him one-on-one. He's got one-on-one
space for others.
Yes, and Pep knows it because he's so strong.
Did he just say we brought him in for what he does when he hasn't got the ball?
No.
We didn't sign him for the incredible goals or assists. It was another reason.
Another reason. So what he's talking about, and I know what he means. The only thing, when Jack gets the ball, because he's got this dribbling ability and this strength, people have to double up on him. You have to. So he brings people towards him. And people call it. We used to call it an occupier. Moussa Dembele was an occupier. He dragged people towards him with his strength and his control. And all of a sudden, in that City team, bringing two towards you leaves somebody else free. It just so happens that most of their other players who are free are wonderful creators as well. But what you have to understand in football is what your strengths are. And Jack's strength is keeping the ball, dribbling with the ball and holding people off, whilst in the City team passing it more. Now, very rarely do you watch Jack Grealish play for Man City and he loses the ball. A lot less than he did at Villa, because that's what Pep demands. So it's finding that balance for Jack of still being himself and individualistic and have all these qualities whilst being part of the team. And he's struggling a bit with that balance. But Graham's argument is fine. What he should, in terms of, can he move it quicker sometimes? Yes, and some games no. But look, the word great depends how you use it. Some people are flipping with it.
Subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think someone like Souness obviously has every right to say what he thinks.
Yeah, of course. And
everyone
and people have a right to push back on it if they don't agree. The frameworking of the observations on Jack Grealish are interesting because we are responding to what I consider to be a ridiculous set of observations from Kevin De Bruyne, because the characterisation of the situation was Jack Grealish is being maligned. And I would imagine by the same people that are asking him questions in the press conference yesterday that were fawning and blowing smoke up his backside are the same people that are questioning him in a different format when he's not in front of them. So the hypocrisy of that should not be missed. But the arguments about Jack Grealish that Kevin De Bruyne was raising, which is where the conversation started yesterday. Okay. Graham has framed his observations based upon where Jack Grealish is now. He's on a journey, right? Now, whether that journey is going to lead him to the space where everyone thinks he's worth the £100 million that someone paid for him, that he didn't put a price tag on himself.
He didn't, no.
And so ultimately, that's what Graham is talking about, is his expectation was, has Jack Grealish moved from the player that was at Aston Villa to a better player all round at Manchester City? And he thinks possibly not. He thinks he's not seen that improvement. He makes an analogy about players getting fouled more, which means they're not doing enough, and they should be doing better. And, you know, I couldn't speak to that, but the boys can speak to that because they played the game. But when I look at Jack Grealish as a rounded package, right, kid walks on the pitch with an Alice band with his socks around his ankles and draws attention to himself. He draws attention to himself off the pitch with ridiculous activities of being on the side of the road in a slipper, getting done for drink driving, and standing in front of a camera ridiculing another side's player who he didn't think was good enough.
But he faced the music for that song.
All of them,
that was some time ago.
Unfortunately, in life, these things have a habit of following you around. So the currency around Jack Grealish follows him because of Jack Grealish's positioning. Now, then you move that into unfair observation. Are we moving from a point of view of conflating Jack Grealish, the person, the player, the £100 million price tag, and being unfair? Is his outcomes at Man City where you would have expected him to be if he's evolving at the rate that you would expect a player of his innate ability would be? And I don't think he is, because I also in the camp with Graham is, I don't think he's as good as people. We have this awful tendency in this country to turn people into things that they are not. To turn people into things that they never were, build them up to levels, and then the poor bugger gets whittled down inch by inch, yard by yard, because they're held to a set of standards that they never at in the first place. Grealish, clearly, if Pep Guardiola thinks he's a good player, then I'm prepared to go with that judgment, because it's very, very rarely that Pep Guardiola doesn't get it wrong. He didn't get on well with Ibrahimovic, and some people would say that's a good thing, some that's a bad thing. Grealish, to me, never £100 million footballer.
No,
never.
I don't think so.
And that's not his fault that he's got that price tag on it. Never as good as people are making him out in certain sections of the media, but notwithstanding that, clearly good enough for Pep Guardiola to want to defend. Clearly good enough now for Southgate to be changing his thought process about him. So he's changed the attitude that Southgate had towards him about unreliability and not being able to go to him because he couldn't trust him. So all of those things are progress. We just perhaps have to be a little bit patient and see at the end of this season if the Grealish that's played all year in a World Cup, been given his head for England, playing, and he's played the last 3 or 4 games for Man City, so the argument is now beginning to diminish about how much time he's getting on the pitch.
Oh, he'll get his
We will
games,
see. He should score more goals. He's an attacking player.
There's no doubt. You make a lot of good points. I don't think there's any doubt, and I think Jack, if he sat here, would agree that there's more to come.
Okay.
I don't think...
And we'll see.
He's not hit his straps
We'll see in Qatar,
but he's never going to be a goal a game guy. He's not a wingman who's going to score a bag full of goals.
But
he does need to be 15 goals a season.
Yes, he does.
A couple of more than decent opponents coming up before Qatar in Italy and Germany to see if he's got it to produce it. Let's see. Just gone 11:45.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.